You are in for a real treat. This episode was originally recorded for my other podcast, but for you, it's been upgraded and transformed, and now you have the Ask the Pro show. So everything mentioned in this episode will now be found on chrisdufay.com, plus so much more, as I've designed the Ask the Pro podcast and chrisdufay.com to give you exactly what you need to grow your business success and for you to have the money, the freedom, and the happiness you want, making a bigger and better impact to the world unselfishly. So now it's time to delve straight into this episode, and I want you to lap up and enjoy every single second of it. The man, Jon, thank you so much for coming onto the Turning Pro Academy podcast. I'm pumped to have you on, mate, because I know you've got some killer insights with the work that you're doing on hacktheentrepreneur.com and the podcast that you're running as well, which I highly recommend. So, Jon, I don't give the insights into who the fantastic guests are. This is going to be your job. So I want you to unveil, lift the skirt up, and show the world who Jon is and why you're so phenomenal.
Sure. I'm Jon Nastor. Yeah, I'm from Canada. And I started a podcast about 5 months ago just from selfish need of wanting to talk to brilliant entrepreneurs. And I find that if I try and just call up a brilliant entrepreneur and steal half an hour of their time, they don't really have the time and don't want to do it. But if I'm going to hit record on a podcast, they're all eager. So I just really wanted to be able to do that. And so I did with Hack the Entrepreneur, and I've had some amazing people. I'm coming up to 70 shows now, and it's just been an amazing journey. It's exposed me to so many people. My audience is built so much faster than I ever expected. And I guess I hit the branding and sort of the market correctly by really just making a show that I wanted to exist. And I guess there's lots of me out there.
That is fantastic. And what I really want today's episode on, no matter what industry someone's coming from, whether they're running a small business, whether they're an entrepreneur themselves, or maybe they're just waiting in the wings, they're kind of thinking about taking the leap themselves, because I know you've got some phenomenal insights into what that's all about and what makes a successful entrepreneur and what doesn't make a successful entrepreneur, and kind of what the deep nitty gritty behind what's going on with them as well. So I think this is great. But I think something you touched on, and I just want to kind of like bring this up because it's kind of where I started with myself running 2 different podcasts. It didn't start off, but I kind of feel like it's like I'm going to keep it up because it is a selfish kind of act where I get to talk with phenomenal people like yourself. We get to jump online, we get to chat, and then obviously we get to grow a great relationship. If we keep in touch, fantastic. Get together, even better. All these great things. But I guess it's a great opportunity for us to kind of have a conversation, and then the listener gets to put us between their earbuds and make sure that they get the best of the best. So I think that's great.
Yeah, it's amazing. Powerful, amazing and powerful and life-changing for me. So it's awesome.
That's great. Awesome to hear. So I kind of want to start off with maybe the dark side, the fears, the inner battles that the entrepreneur deals with. Maybe this is something that if an entrepreneur themselves, maybe they're not really willing to look into it. Maybe they're really not having the conscious sort of talk with themselves about what's going on. But what do you think those fears and inner battles are that the entrepreneur really deals with? And how do we go about absolutely breaking them down?
The fears for entrepreneurs almost to a certain degree end once you really jump fully into entrepreneurs and kind of starting to be successful at it. Really, the greatest fear should be that you didn't try and that you didn't take that leap, to me. And I find that the people who are trying to get going, they have so many pent up fears about what could go, all this stuff. It's like, it's true. All of that stuff will go wrong. Everything, it's just life in general, right? As soon as everything starts going really well, you get sideswiped by something, whether it's business related or not. That's just how it goes. And business is like this. And the most successful people I've talked to you just don't really get frightened of it anymore.
Yeah.
So we kind of lose that fear. And whether that's just through sheer just not caring anymore, or I don't know. I guess we get a taste of success and then you just push for it. And the smallest things don't bother me. The craziest things don't bother me that used to bother me, say 5 years ago, that really, really would affect me, and something would go wrong. And I would all of a sudden be like, wow, should I just get a job and go back to that? Now the craziest stuff can happen to me, man. And that doesn't cross my mind. It's like, no, this is what I do. I've just got to tweak it and go with something else.
That's awesome.
So the fears, man, I think to me, the greatest fear anybody should feel is that you didn't try, man. I don't want to be that guy at the end of my life, just thinking of the stuff that I could have done and what I possibly could have accomplished. Even if that turns out to be nothing, I want to know that I tried.
That's a really good point. And I think when someone brings up, like, do you know what I mean, the fear of not trying, and you said it then, it's kind of like, what's the legacy you're leaving behind? And if you were on your deathbed, do you know what I mean? Are you going to be having regrets, or are you going to be happy with, you know what, you did pull the trigger on certain things, you had a good crack? Not everything was the quote unquote success, but I think maybe that you've actually had a good enough go at it is something that you should be very proud of.
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing as well is obviously someone that hasn't taken the leap yet. That's maybe where the real fear is. People are kind of, they've got their job, they're kind of stuck in their situation that they think, and they're kind of maybe listening to us and go, right, well, these guys, do you know what I mean? They're building these businesses online and they're doing all of this stuff and having all these cool conversations with each other. Like, that's not me, or how do I get into that? What's your advice for them?
To start, to just, if you want to do it, if this is something you want to do, like, it's, to me, it's no less comfortable, or it's no less confirmed and like a sure thing or a sure bet as having a job at a big company. To me, somebody else is in charge then, and that company can go out of business. That company can downsize next week, and you'll just show up and you're out of it. So it's not, to me, at least this way, I'm fully in control. Like, if anything totally happens to my income, it's because I did or didn't do something. And I like that. And I really think you just need to start. And that doesn't mean quitting your job tomorrow at all. Just mark today on the calendar, that big black X, whether it's a physical calendar or your Google calendar, that today is the day you're starting. And then literally just keep working towards stuff, whether it's learning more things and getting confident or coming up with ideas to turn into a business. Just make today the day you actually are starting. And if you look back and you hit that black X and it's been a year from now and you haven't done anything, then yeah, kick yourself in the ass, because then it's like, okay, well, now it's been a year. Like, there's only so many years you have, right? And then they can look at Chris and they can look at John and be like, well, now look at how far ahead they are. It's like, well, yeah, we just worked for the last year.
Yeah, exactly.
Extra on our business. You know what I mean? Well, you just looked at that black X, but that black X will come back. And that's why I love putting that black X on your calendar, because it's going to come back and kick you in the ass if you haven't started.
I think
and otherwise, otherwise, there's just time kind of just passes, and they'll think, they're like, oh, I heard that podcast with John and Chris. That was like, what? That was like 2 months ago or something. And then really it was already a year ago or 10 months ago, but time just kind of passes that way. But if you actually mark it down, it's going to come back to you. It's going to remind you, and it's going to make you really, really step up and take the action, because that's the only way any of this works.
That's great. And I really think something that comes up when you say that is you have to take responsibility for yourself. And you said it as in, you enjoy having that responsibility of, you are solely responsible for your income. Do you know what I mean? You don't get to walk up to your boss and go, well, where's my paycheck? No, brother, you are your own boss. Do you know what I mean? And if you want more money, then you simply have to work harder and smarter to make that happen. And I really enjoy that, because I think when someone actually really embraces that responsibility, it's very empowering.
Yeah, exactly. And if that really, well, it should make you uncomfortable at first to think about it. But if it seems like too much, then yeah, it's not right for you, this whole entrepreneur game. And I guess just it's not. But you really, because you have to, not even just with money, but with anything, when it's your thing going on, if you then hire a virtual assistant and she does something totally wrong, you know what? You can't blame that person. You got to blame yourself, because you are the owner. You got to take ownership of the whole thing. Take ownership of your life. Take ownership of your business. Take ownership of the stuff that happens to and around you. It's not anybody else's fault anymore. Stop blaming other people. Stop blaming external forces, and just step up and take ownership of the good stuff and the bad, and your life will change dramatically.
Very nice. Swift kick up the arse there, John. I like that, mate. Now, what are the habits? We are habitual creatures. What are you seeing as the habits, the behaviors that the successful entrepreneur has?
Not being afraid of hard work. We all talk about passive income. like it's sitting back on the beach and doing nothing. And trust me, I love to do that. But passive income takes a lot of work.
It's so true.
It does. You got to work your ass off. But then it's passive income to me is I do something today. I do this podcast today and it's going to go out there and somebody can listen to this a year from now or 2 years from now. And yeah, it's like the evening at my house. It's first thing in the morning where you are. We're both working super early, yet it creates passive income in a way that it exponentially just continues to go out. And that's amazing. And you have to understand that. And people who are successful understand that there's a ton of hard work getting into it. There's no secret. You're never going to hear Elon Musk or something. You're not going to get to interview him and he's going to say, oh, there's this one time I learned this like traffic trick on like Facebook and that was what changed my life. No, I worked my ass off. I went broke. I did, you know what I mean? It's all that stuff. There's never that secret trick that somebody learned. And it's really, you have to know that and you have to step up and be willing to do the work and be willing to work harder than other people and smarter than other people. And you will absolutely succeed.
We're going to take a quick break and we'll be back in a split with so much more for you. Now, I know you're listening and tuning in because you know how important your health is and how this can also catapult your business. This is why I'm very happy to say that this podcast is sponsored by My Body Blends and my favorite, the superfood elixir, the powerful greens drink. Now, this is designed specially to boost energy, aids detoxification, enhances the ability to burn fat, supports healthy carbohydrate metabolism, and best of all, is voted best tasting greens drink. Now, myself and the My Body Blends team are looking for ambassadors to join, so you and your clients get the health benefits plus adding in a strong income stream for you and your business. The ambassador program, which is by application only, means you get exclusive access to sell My Body Blends products like Superfood Elixir to your clients, plus giving you the special ambassador pricing and bonuses. So once you become an ambassador, you can join the other top health and fitness players that are adding thousands to their week's income. Now, there is only a limited number of ambassadors we are taking on board, as this is a tribe leading the way together. So to apply and to join, go to mybodyblend.com/ambassador or add the checkout code that is TurningPro, all one word, when you're going to get your own superfood elixir to order. Plus, you're going to get free shipping and a bonus to save yourself over $250 instantly. So just use that coupon code TurningPro in the checkout and you can save over $250 right now, all on mybodyblend.com. Do you really think that comes down to someone having the self-belief or backing themselves, but also having that I am not looking for instant gratification as well? Because as you've said, and it is very true, passive income or just building the success doesn't come from sitting on your ass. You have to get out there. Do you know what I mean? Movement is more powerful than meditation when it comes to this. And I think a lot of people are maybe looking to, especially when they start off, you can't have that instant gratification idea in your head. You have to just be like, right, this is going to take time and I'm going to make sure it happens.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I have this new mantra I've come up with in the last couple of months, and it's totally based around that. And the mantra is to live in days, work in months, and plan in years. And the work in months to me gets rid of instant gratification. I project-based my life so that I can work my ass off 7 days a week if I have to, but it's project-based. It's within a certain time frame. I can work and work and work. And after that's done, me and my family can go on a cool trip and hang out and have fun. And then I'll recuperate and I'll go back into another project. But also what that project does is I know going into it, it's going to take me X amount of months. This isn't days we're talking. This is months that you have to be ready to do the work. Otherwise, we all get excited, we all get emotional, and we come up with this great idea and we work our ass off for 3 days. Nothing happens and we give up. And you can't do that, man. You got to work in months. There's no easier way to do it. And then the whole plan in years is just big things don't even come within months. It comes on months of projects based and kind of jumping off of each other and getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And you have to absolutely, you're dead on, man. There's there's no entrepreneurial lottery where you're just going to all of a sudden become this like crazy famous person. It just doesn't happen. When it does happen, there's actually like 5 years before of hard work that nobody ever sees. And it's that whole 5 years of struggling until the overnight success happens, right?
Yeah, exactly. Right.
We see that in music, we see that pop culture, we see that in business all the time. But it's never a first off kind of lottery thing. It's just not. You have to put in the work and be willing to step up, but make that work meaningful, make it count, make it matter to you and to the world. And it's different than just going to a job. Trust me, when I say work, I don't mean that kind of work. It's a lot of hard work, but it's meaningful. You're really building something and leaving something behind that you've created out of nothing. And that's amazing to me.
I think that's great. And also how you started that off with, obviously you're focusing on day by day. How do you, Jon, structure your days around your work, around your family, around your life, everything else?
So right now I'm in a project. So I'm in the middle of working my butt off for months, and I work at home. My family is usually or oftentimes at home. My wife doesn't have a job outside of the house, so she's just here doing what she wants. And my daughter, who just turned 10 a couple of weeks ago, we kept her home this year to unschool her for the year. And so she's home too. And I mean, they go out and do stuff all the time, but my life is very much based around, and my business and my work they're all so like intertwined. There's not a difference. Like I don't have set times that I work. Sometimes it's 4 a.m. and I'm just up working because I'm just feeling it. I'm totally into it. And then other times we'll sleep in, we'll go out for breakfast, we'll go hang out at the park, and 2 p.m, I'll finally get to work. Other days I'm up at 6 a.m. because I just happen to feel it and I need to get this stuff done, and I'll do it. So they're very, very much connected. It's just, there's not a discernible sort of difference between, okay, family time, this, and maybe that's right, maybe that's wrong, but that's how I do it. And because I project-based things, it's okay, because right now I don't get to spend as much time as I want just hanging out, but at the end of this project, I'll get way more time than I want for the next couple of months. And it's awesome, right? And we can travel and do cool stuff. So that's just how I've structured my life. And it's how I wanted to structure my life years ago. I really consciously figured out this whole perfect day, what I wanted. Now I get to live it, and it's amazing. It blows my mind that I actually get to do it.
You just touched on you're just playing the heartstrings right now. And I think we're in very similar situations where I work from home, like my office is at home. My wife doesn't have like work outside. She does do other projects, kind of collaborating with other people in the fashion industry and also in some real estate here in Bali. But then there's also my daughter, and my daughter's 20 months old. So I think it's very interesting because we've kind of set ourselves up a little differently. I'm much more structured. I knew I had to wake up at 4 a.m. this morning because I did have another interview for my other podcast before yourself, Jon. So I was up super early, going through my morning ritual, kind of getting myself set up for the day. And then I kind of am a little bit more structured out as into, okay, this is when I'm kind of going to be working. This is when I'm going to go train. And then this is when my family time, downtime, study time, whatever it is, kind of works out to be. And I think it's great because obviously I'm on a journey here, like I'm on a learning process, and hearing you say that is fantastic. And it's great for me to hear someone in such a similar situation and go through that. And I think what you also touched on, what the listener should really take away, is having that perfect day, because I remember writing my perfect day out, and that would have been 7 months ago, maybe. And I get to do it every single day. And it's awesome. It gives me goosebumps how grateful I am that I get to go through that sort of stuff. But it's still a process, and I'm still enjoying learning through everything like that. So I appreciate you opening up about that, Jon.
Not a problem.
What do you think a lot of people get wrong with kind of setting their lifestyle up, their days up? Like, what are you finding that the other entrepreneurs that get it right or get it wrong, what are your advice about that for the listener?
My advice is, and your response to my response to your original question is exactly it, which is to be confident in who you are and how you work and how you can be the most productive and do the things you want to do and need to do to create cool stuff, which you are very structured. You have things that work for you, getting up early, then working out, all these things. And I went through a couple of years where I tried to do what other people do, and what works for them. And I've since realized, especially now talking to 100 billion people, that everybody has a different routine. And we all go through the part where we're trying to figure out what other people are doing. But when we finally get confident enough to look inwards and you can still pick up hacks from other people, but you still have to just find what works for you and then go with it and be confident in that. I have to be confident in the fact that sometimes I sleep until 10 in the morning, and it's totally cool. That's how I structured my life. I can do that. I don't have to wake up at 5 in the morning. I'm miserable if I wake up at 5 in the morning. I'm terrible. I just can't be productive. And everybody has such crazy different things that they do throughout the day to make themselves do these big, cool things. Yet they do it with confidence. They do it knowing that and I know that when people are just starting out, now the reason why I'm not doing this is because you know what I mean? And you just go searching all these different blogs, reading all this different stuff, and you're just procrastinating, looking for other people to give you answers, when really you just got to look in and be like, well, I'll try this. And maybe it'll work for me, maybe it won't. Just because it worked for him doesn't mean it works for me. Because it works for her doesn't mean it's going to work for me. And then it's just really confidence just to step up and like, this is how I do it. And I also know that life's fluid. I'm fluid, and I'm going to change. I'm going to grow. My habits today are probably not going to be my habits in 6 months. And that's cool because I'm going to keep testing stuff. I'm going to try stuff out, but with a confidence in knowing that because I read that it works for that person doesn't mean it has to work for me. And that doesn't make me wrong. It doesn't make me less smart or less diligent or less, you know what I mean? It's really just, it doesn't work for me. And we have to understand that. And when we do, that's when people really, really step up and start to really kick ass because you're confident, and that confidence shines through in all that you do.
Great. No, absolutely love that. And I think that's exactly what the listener needs to get another real good drop kick up the arse there, John, giving it to them. Now this kind of leads on to, and this was just a thought that I was actually pondering about yesterday. How do you go about time off, holidays, however you want to call it, avoiding burnout? How do you go about this whole giving yourself a bit of John time and like more family time and all that?
Well, I've been working on Hack the Entrepreneur now full time since end of July, which is 6 or 7 months ago now, pushing on 8 actually, which is a huge, long project, bigger than I expected. I expected it to be 3 months, and I was just going to run its course, and I was going to get to talk to all these cool people, and then I'd move on to something else. But it's snowballed into something much bigger. So I haven't had the time off. It's winter in Canada right now. It's freezing. I haven't been outside literally in 48 hours because it's so cold, and I just stay inside. But normally we're not here during the winter. We take the time off and we go somewhere warm and hang out. And we haven't done that this year because some really awesome, amazing things are happening with Hack the Entrepreneur. And I just want to work through it and get it done. That being said, once April hits, then I will be taking time off. We're planning a pretty cool road trip through the States and then up to Vancouver for a couple months, and just to time with some conferences that I have to go to. And I do need to stay in places at least long enough to be recording episodes and doing my work, but it'll be much, much less busy. And that being said, the 6 months leading up to that July when I started Hack the Entrepreneur, I did hardly any work. I had stuff set up in my business, like with Velocity Page and stuff. I had money coming in that I had done the work before, and it just kept paying me, and I didn't have to keep working. So me and my family spent 2 months in Asia last winter. Then we came back, and I literally just hung out with my family. We flew kites and hang out at the park like every day, my daughter and I. And
that's great.
And then it was July when we were out, we rent a cottage for the weekend, and I read Gary Vaynerchuk's Crush It again. Just was sitting out by the water, and I was just like, okay, now's the time. I'm going to start a podcast. And I started it like 2 days later. Had never interviewed anybody in my life, had never done any of it. Just I'm jumping in full on, going for it. I want something to do. I want to talk to these smart people, and it's gotten way better than it is. And so it's built into a longer project, but that's cool. And I'm cool with it. And the burnout's not going to happen because it's so short term, and the cool stuff that's happening, it just makes me so excited that I just want to keep doing it. And I see an end in sight already. So that's cool. And then I will come straight back into it and push it hard again. But that's really how I do it. And really up till this past 6 or 7 months, it's been a lot of downtime. It was a lot of sitting on the beach with a laptop, just checking PayPal in the morning and seeing the money coming in. Seriously, man, I did that for a long time, and I actually kind of got bored of it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I wanted to start getting sort of public and out there and building this sort of personal brand away from my business. And I got some amazing guidance from like Pat Flynn and John Lee Dumas when I met them in the Philippines last winter.
Chris Duckers.
And Yeah, Chris Ducker's Tropical Think Tank.
Fantastic.
Amazing. Yeah. And those guys, Pat especially, I mean, he bought me the gear that I'm talking through right now. He helped me a lot prior to launch, kind of just answering my questions via email, getting me unstuck and getting me in the right direction. And so now I feel like I've been given this platform. Although I worked my ass off for it, there's hundreds a day that come out in entrepreneurship podcasts, and mine took off kind of. And it's just, I feel like it's there and I shouldn't let it go. So I've stepped up how many I do in a week. I go to 3 a week now, and I'm actually moving over to Copy Blogger, starting a podcast network in like 2 weeks. And they, with a whole bunch of their own shows they're going to start. And they asked me to be an outside show, one of 2 that they're letting on. And it's amazing, man. Like, so I'm just rolling with it. And I know for a fact that it's going to, I see the end, and then it'll be literally a month or so or 2 of just hanging out with my family again. We get a lot of it. So I don't endlessly do this. You're talking to me in a time where I'm really into it because it's so awesome. No, I'm just running with it.
Yeah, it's phenomenal, John, because I think a great way, kind of a way that I've looked at it is you have seasons about what's going on. You know what? We have seasons in which you have to just absolutely, it is head down, bum up. You got to get the work done. And then you have the seasons, as you said, do you know what I mean? Where you get to go sit by, read the books you want, play with your family, your daughter. And that's such a powerful thing. Like that just makes me so happy that you say that. And also knowing that I can do that, because I remember before I took the leap and I was just personal training 6 days a week, just nonstop from the morning till night. I was like, this is not the father that I want to be. I want to be present the whole time. I want to be able to take her out, do cool shit, have fun, do you know what I mean? And not kind of like be out before the sun comes up and then sometimes be home, but pretty much always I was kind of like racing home just to be able to put her to bed. And I was like, this ain't cool. This ain't what I want to do. And that was the pain point for me to having to take the leap to now what has blossomed to be so much. And I think it's great because, as you said before, and I was just actually discussing this with my wife, I've got to do a 6-day seminar and I'm going to be doing some masterminds in Spain in August this year. And I was like, well, hey, why don't we just spend a month in Spain after it and just chill out? And I was just like, let's do that. Awesome idea. Why not? And being able to have that freedom, I think, is what people should be able to aim for as well.
Absolutely, man. And it sounds so, if you would have told me that 3 years ago that you're just going to go to Spain, I would have just been blown away. Now I'm just like, yeah, that's how life should be lived.
Yes, exactly.
To do those things. And it was funny because we were actually supposed to be going to Spain in the middle of March to meet my mastermind group. We were all going to meet there. Our first actually in-person meeting since the Philippines. And we meet once a week online. But one of the guys, his business is this boutique travel with Japan. And he just had to get back to Japan and he can't be there. So we're now going to meet in San Diego in June, I believe. Yeah, right after a conference I have to go to in Colorado in May, and just with my family, and we'll go hang out there. But it's just, that's what we were going to do. We were going to spend a month in Spain because I was going to meet for 4 days and mastermind, and then just, yeah, why not bring the family and just hang out? That's how life should be. It really is. And it sounds like this crazy dream life, and it is, I guess. I should appreciate the fact that it is, but it's so not. Like, it's not like a fairy tale. It's not like a movie. It's really, I know so many people now. I'm surrounded by people that this is all that we do. This is how life is. And this is how it should be. And the internet allows it, man. It's powerful stuff. It's crazy.
Do you think that's why it's so powerful as yourself being a part of, say, a mastermind and surrounding yourself with people that are kicking ass and doing stuff like this?
Yeah, absolutely. I live in a small town in a small country, and a massive country with very few people. And so
you guys are just greedy.
Yeah. So I don't get to talk a lot of business without people online. And now I'm lucky. I'm like completely surrounded. Like I've had 8 or 9 calls today with people, either interviews or just literally calls with people just scheduled to talk about cool stuff and what they're doing and helping them through stuff. And they're helping me. And it's amazing. And it's really hard to not have that. But with the internet, there's no reason to not be surrounded anymore. With Facebook private groups and stuff, just look for what you're interested in. There's people out there looking and just dying to be hooked up with somebody like everyone else out there trying to do it. We're not the only ones. We're not as unique as we like to think we are in our crazy entrepreneurial ways and wanting to do big, cool stuff. It's kind of a movement happening because people are seeing enough of us just goofball guys working in coffee shops with laptops in like Key countries and their family just comes in hanging out. It's not as crazy as it was even 5 years ago. Now it just seems to be everywhere. It's amazing. It's hard to go into a coffee shop somewhere and not see somebody else working on laptops doing amazing stuff.
Yeah, no, so very true. And it's funny because, like, obviously living here in Bali, there's not a lot of people doing like this stuff around. So obviously my connecting with people is very much done online. And when I do get to see people face to face, it's like I'm enthralled with it. And I think that's the power of masterminds and things like that as well. But do you know the Dynamite Circle, John?
Yes.
Right. So I was training one day here in Bali at the gym, and I saw this dude just sitting there on his laptop, and I was like, oh, okay, cool. Like, that's great. And then I saw his screen, and I saw he was using the app G-Flux. So it takes the blue light out of the screen.
Yeah,
and I got it like 3 days before, and I was like, that's sick. What's this guy doing? I was like, that's cool. And I went up to him, and then I was like, suddenly realized just before I said something, it was Dan Andrews, the dude that runs the Dynamite Circle. I was like, what's up? Like, this is fantastic. And so obviously I think it's great for people to be able to connect. And I think if someone hasn't taken the leap yet, I think surrounding yourself with people that have is very important. And if you have taken the leap, you are an entrepreneur and you're not getting the biggest bang for your buck, you're not getting the results, maybe focus on who you're around, who you're talking to, and who you can get a helping hand from.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Super, super powerful stuff.
Now, last question, and this is just fresh on my mind. I was even talking to the last guest I had on my other podcast this morning. So this is something I've just been thinking about, and it's something I've been testing and trying out, and you're all about the hacks. So a morning ritual. What's your morning ritual, John, and where do you see the magic behind it?
My morning ritual is getting up, drinking a giant glass of water, instantly making a coffee, and then going over and giving my daughter a kiss on the cheek while she eats her cornflakes and reads her book. She's always sitting there and and she takes the time and just like says good morning, and it's so nice. And then I go to my office and I work, and I just to know that she's there, she's relaxed, having fun, she can do what she wants today. To me, it's all worth it. Yeah. And I don't care how much I have to work today to allow that to happen. But to me, that's epic. And that is the coolest morning ritual I could possibly ever have.
It's a big part of the power of fatherhood right there, wouldn't it be, John?
It is. It's especially daughters. Well, I've only ever had a daughter, but just tear you apart as a father. Just amazing little creatures.
I think it's funny because I happily admit my daughter has me wrapped around her thumb very firmly. And it's like, I can't wait for the day, Daddy, I want a pony. Sure thing, it's done. Let's get two. I want one as well. Don't be greedy. Okay, now before I let you go, John, what would be your one shining golden nugget that you want to give to the listener that we haven't touched upon yet so far in this chat?
Be aware of this thing called the entrepreneurial gap. I don't think I touched on this. The entrepreneurial gap is this thing as entrepreneurs, when you start getting into it, where you are never present in today. We set big goals. And before we even usually hit those goals, we just set up 10 more way bigger goals in front of us. And we're constantly always trying to live 6 months in the future. And I don't care how hard you try and live into the future, you'll never get there. You're always here today. And it's some amazing things have happened to me in my career and what I'm doing. And it took me still a while to actually appreciate that and not still try and live in the future, and to not appreciate how hard I've worked in the last 3 years. I've been online full time for 3 years. And if I could look at myself from 3 years ago to now, I'd be astonished. My jaw would drop. Yet to do that today and think about that and be aware of that is really hard. And I'm really consciously trying to live today and appreciate what it is I have accomplished. And yes, I have big goals. Yes, I want to go to cool places and do amazing stuff, but I absolutely appreciate where I am, what I've done, and how much kind of ass I've kicked up to this point. And even if you don't have a business running or anything, just think about 6 months ago, how little you knew about business from what you do now, just from what you've read, from what you've listened to, from just what you've learned. And just think about how you know so much more than a massive portion of the population already. And really just give yourself credit for that. Really, truly sit today. And the gap to me is just literally stopping right now and turning around and looking at where you've come from, not always looking forward.
I'm going to admit straight up, Dave's probably one of my biggest weaknesses as well. I'm kind of climb one mountain and I'm straight away looking at the next one, going like, I'm hunting you down. And I think that's actually where my wife really grounds me. And she's always like, look at what you've done. Like, do you know what I mean? And I'm like, oh yeah, I do appreciate that. That's cool. But look at this one over here that I want to go.
I know. That's why I call it the entrepreneurial gap, because it absolutely is within us as entrepreneurs. And we do have to have those big lofty goals. It's true. But I think we have to stop and really appreciate what it is that we've done, because we've all done some amazing, cool stuff and put in a lot of work to get there.
No, that's great, John. Yeah, those are some really good advice. Right. I've got 2 questions for you, mate, that I ask every guest on this podcast. So I just want you to just rattle the answer out, just straight off what comes out at the top of your tongue. First up, what is your definition of happiness?
Family and free time to hang out with them.
Beautiful. I think it's something we've covered today very well. So that was great. And number 2, what are you grateful for today?
The internet.
Oh, very nice.
Because I don't know what I would do if I was born 10 years earlier and I didn't have this. I would be miserable and stuck somewhere creating a business still, I'm sure, but it would be offline, brick and mortar, and I'd be stuck there all the time and not have the freedom to enjoy this world that we live in.
Well, baby, you've made it happen for yourself, John. So give yourself a big pat on the back, mate.
I will.
All right, buddy. Thank you so much. Now, before I let you go, I want you to blow smoke, because I highly recommend Hack the Entrepreneur. How can people get in touch with you, the podcast, and everything you're doing?
HackTheEntrepreneur.com is the place. I'm going to have a brand new site up probably by the time you see this. It's awesome. And go check it out. Doing a lot of fun stuff over there. Lots of good interviews. And find me on Twitter, JONNASTOR, and come straight to my phone. You can hit me any time of day or night if you want to just say hi or ask me some questions. I'm here, man.
Beautiful. I'm going to be linking all to that in the show notes. John, big high five, mate. Thank you so much for your time and opening up for today. Absolutely phenomenal. I'm going to keep in close touch with you and we'll be chatting soon. But for now, goodbye.
Bye, Chris. Thanks. It's been my pleasure.
So now it's time for you to click on over to chrisdufay.com. That's chrisdufey.com to get all the guides and show notes. And if you are wanting the workshops where I walk you through how to build your online business, click on over to chrisdufay.com/start here. This is where I can give you the exact training guides and the workshops for exactly where you're at and the answers that you need. Now, every Friday I'm coming back to you with a new episode. So be sure to subscribe, and if you haven't already, you're going to be getting the world's best insights, the advice, and the answers to give you the business, the money, the freedom, and the success and happiness that you want. And I want to give you a huge muchas gracias for being here with me. And as always, get in touch with me via the site or via social, as Ask the Pro is about me giving you the answers that you need. So ask away.